Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another Game Maker tutorial. Yes, we are back to Game Maker tutorials. This is not a sprite art tutorial. I will be doing more of those here soon, but it was time for some programming. So this is part 6 to the RTS series, and currently it's been a while, so I'm just going to quickly do an update on the state that the game was in when we left off the last video. We had the enemies turned red when they were in an attack state, and the player would fire green lasers at the enemy when he was close enough and kind of sidestep the enemy. So that was the state we were in before. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually make it so that the player and the enemy can die. They can both take damage and die, and they can both shoot. So right now, currently only the player can shoot. First thing we're going to do is duplicate this laser object, and we'll call this object enemy laser. And I actually really wanted to duplicate the sprite, but whatever. So we'll duplicate the sprite, call it sprite enemy laser. We'll edit it. I'm just going to do image colorize, and it makes it red for me, and I'll just stick with the red, and that's going to be perfect. So now we're going to come down to this object, and we're going to give it the red sprite. Now we're going to create a new object, and this is going to be called object weapon. And we're just going to give this a generic sprite. I'm just going to give it the mask. I'm going to put it up here above the laser, and I'm going to duplicate that object. Well, actually, okay, I lied. So delete the object weapon. Delete the duplicate if you duplicated it. Now duplicate the object laser again and call this one object weapon. Okay? And we're going to give it the generic sprite. We're going to take out this movement code. We're going to take out this step event code, so delete that. We're going to leave outside the view, which will eventually change later. And we're going to leave collision with the enemy fighter, but we're going to take out the particle code from the collision with the enemy fighter, like that. So it just destroys itself. Okay? Now we're going to duplicate the enemy laser. We're going to call this object enemy weapon. And we're going to do the same thing. Delete the create event. Delete the step event. Instead of a collision with the enemy fighter, we're going to change this event to a collision with the player ship, and that's the parent object. Okay? And we'll give this one a generic sprite as well and move it above the enemy laser. This one should be not the enemy fighter, but do change event collision with the enemy ship. So that's the parent object as well. Now we're going to come into our normal laser, and we're going to delete that event, and we're going to delete the outside view event, and we're going to give it a parent of the object weapon. We're going to come into this one. We're going to delete this event and delete this event, which this is the object enemy laser. And we're going to give it a parent of the enemy weapon. So all we've done is we've created two parent objects, one for the player's for the player ship weapons and one for the enemy ship weapons. And then we've given the parent objects the collision and the outside view event, and then the child objects have the create and step event for both of them. And that's how it's set up right now. So that's pretty good. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create another particle type. So duplicate this script, the script part laser init, and we're going to call this script part enemy laser init. And just make sure you change this to enemy laser, and change this to enemy laser. Enemy laser, looking good, and this to enemy laser as well. And then instead of white, lime, and green, we're going to do C yellow, C orange, and C red. But we're going to leave everything else the same. Okay. Now we're going to come into our object particle system, and we're going to, inside the create event, we're going to do script part enemy laser init. Okay. And we're going to go into the end game event, and we're going to destroy that. Just copy this code right here, the global part destroy, and instead of PT laser, enemy laser. Now inside of our enemy laser, in the step event, we're going to want to create enemy laser particles. So PT enemy laser instead of laser. Just change that there. Sweet, we're getting close. So now one thing we need to do is we need to go into our script ship init, and inside of here we need to add, currently it's got weapon as argument 0. We're going to change that to argument 1, and we're going to add a new argument called HP, and that's going to be argument 0. And then up here in this right here, I'm going to change this to HP and weapon. That way I know what I'm initializing. Now we're going to go into every single ship object. So go into the basic ship object, initialize the ship, and we're going to do an HP of 5 and a weapon of -1. Let's come into the player ship, and we're going to be an HP of 5 and a weapon -1, which means no weapon, by the way, if you didn't figure that out. The enemy ship, we're going to do this 5, -1. And the worker, we'll leave the worker the same. The player fighter, we're going to give the fighter ship, okay, so obviously its weapon is object laser, and its HP is going to be 7 instead of 5. And now let's go into the enemy fighter. And whatever, we'll leave for now. Well, let's add in the init event. So let's grab this create event right here. Add a create event in the enemy. And I'll just copy that initialize ship, and we'll just have it be object enemy laser instead of object laser for the weapon. Now in the enemy ship, we have some extra stuff in here that it does. It checks for where the player is in the create event. So we're going to want to inherit this create event from the parent object. So come into the enemy, and it's crucial that you do this before you initialize this enemy, because the other one initializes it as well. And so we want this initialization to override the first one. So we're going to do events inherited, which inherits the create event from the parent, and then we rerun the initialize to overwrite what the parent had. And we're getting close here. So the other thing we need to do is we need to come into our weapons now, and when they collide, we want to subtract from their health. So we're going to use other.hp minus equals. Well, we want to minus the damage that this weapon does. So just write in damage, and we'll create that variable. But for now, just do that. So, oh, this wasn't supposed to be here anymore. I forgot to take this out. This is inside the collision event for the object enemy weapon. And do other.hp minus equals damage. Sweet. Now we're going to write a script. And this script is going to be called script weapon init, like that. And we're going to pass it a damage. And I think that's all. Yeah, pretty sure that's all we need. So damage equals argument zero. Okay. Now inside of this, let's see, we need to put this inside of the parent. Well, we don't really need it in the parent. The parent only needs to do to handle, well, the parent needs it because we're referencing to damage. So come into the parent, so object weapon, add a create event, and then just do initialize the weapon, and script weapon init, we're going to give it 1 damage, and I'm just going to copy this and put it in the step event for the enemy one. And then inside both of these, I'm just going to do events inherited. So they'll just grab the 1 damage from the parent. Sweet. Now, there's a couple things we need. First of all, the enemy still won't shoot. So let's come into the enemy, the object enemy ship, the parent. Come into the step event, and this right here, if instance exists, object player, foe equals instance nearest. That's great, but we need an else. Else foe equals -1. Or else, if we don't do that, then once the player dies, or let's say there aren't any more players left, then all of a sudden, foe doesn't exist anymore. It's trying to reference it later on in our code, and we get an error message. So this is really important. I don't think our player ship has to worry about it. Yeah, it does as well. Else foe equals -1. So go into the player ship as well, and we need to do that same thing. Sweet. Now, currently, our enemy has a script called script enemy ship attack. Wow, I can't talk today. And all we literally do is just change its color to red. So we're going to take out this right here, and we're going to basically copy in the same the same stuff that the player object does. So come into, let's see, where's the player's attack? I might have it inside the player object. Player ship, step. Oh yeah, I did it this way because I want the player to be able to move and attack at the same time, so you can kind of sidestep them. That's why I did it this way. So we're going to grab this exact same code though, this right here. And we're going to put this in the enemy script. Enemy ship attack. Instead of this image blend equals cred. So cut that out. Put this in. If foe does not equal -1 and point distance, foe is less than 128. Image angle equals point towards the foe. Alarm equals -1. Yes, this all looks good. Except, oh yeah, it all looks good actually. So we just want to make sure and create the alarm inside of the object enemy ship, just like we did inside the player ship. You can see we've got just a blank alarm. So add an event, alarm 0, copy that in. It's just timing for the laser. We don't really need to put anything inside that alarm. We just have to have it created so we can use it. And now we can run the game, and likely there's going to be an error. First thing I'm going to do though is save it. Save as RTS 6. RTS Series 6. I'm going to run it. And hopefully there are no errors. If there are, we'll work through them real fast. I'm not too concerned. This wasn't, I didn't have I did prep for this, but not as well as I do some of my other videos. I wasn't as concerned about it. Maybe I should have been. Maybe there'll be big errors. So let's come down here. The enemy should fire at us. He does. There's no check for death though currently. We just fire at each other for forever. Nobody can ever die. But I can avoid his missiles, which is, I mean, so if you can kind of micro around their missiles. But so far, no errors. So they're attacking and looking pretty good. So let's go into object ship, because every ship is going to die, right? So I'm just going to put this in an end step event because I know none of my other objects have an end step event. And I don't want to have to go through and put events inherited in every single child object. Well, how many child objects is that going to be? 2 maybe? Because these inherit from player ship. So this inherits from player ship. This inherits from enemy ship. Yeah, that's only 2. I need to quit whining and just put it in the step event. So in the step event, we're going to put a code in here that says check for death. If HP is less than or equal to 0, instance destroy. We're not going to do an explosion or anything right now. Later we would. For now, we're just going to check. If we die, we die. Now we'll go into the player ship, and this already has a step event, so we need to make sure and inherit that step event. So right up here at the top, I'm going to inherit it, events, inherited, inherit the step event from the parent object. We'll come in here and do the same thing. I love events inherited. When I found that code, I was super excited about it. Sweet. Try this one more time. We should be able to die now. Odds are we'll kill the enemy before they kill us because we can avoid their bullets though. So that's just the way it's set up right now. Well, first I'm going to sacrifice this guy just to make sure I can. He should die. Yep. Oh, and now he comes after me. But I can dodge. So yeah, that worked pretty well. Now let's come into our room. Let's put in a few more enemy objects. There was one thing that happened right after he killed the one player. He shouldn't have come after me because he was too far away. He should have just gone back into an idle state like he was before. So let's go into the enemy ship attack. And I think we would put it in here. So we've got an if instance exists faux. If it doesn't exist, so we'll want to do an else statement here. Well, no, because where are we finding the nearest one? Yeah, that's going to be inside of, come into this object right here. Object player ship. Well, I'll fix that one in the next video. It's getting a little late. So let's just make sure that we can take on, more than just a couple bad guys right now. I'm going to send out this guy and see if he can take them on. All three of them. I can kind of dodge most of their shots. Ha ha ha. One guy can take out three of theirs. So in the next couple of episodes for this, I will show you guys how to put like a HUD and more details on the ship when we select them. So that's coming up soon. I'm excited to show you guys that. If this video helped you, make sure and like, favorite, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. And I will talk to you guys later.